The art show buzzed with life, a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds that momentarily distracted me from the growing void in my marriage. I stood in the Asheville Art Center, surrounded by local artists showcasing their work, yet felt miles away from the joy around me. My husband, Mark, had been absorbed in his job lately, leaving me to navigate our home alone. The laughter of couples mingling with the scent of fresh paint and coffee only deepened my sense of isolation. I wandered through the gallery, examining pieces that spoke to my heart. Each brushstroke seemed to echo my unvoiced feelings, longing, confusion, and an aching desire for connection. A large canvas caught my eye. It depicted a stormy sea beneath a sky filled with swirling colors. The tumultuous scene resonated within me as I recalled how Mark used to hold my hand during such events, whispering thoughts on art and life. Now, those moments felt like distant memories. As I moved deeper into the gallery, a familiar laugh broke through the ambient noise. I turned instinctively and found myself face to face with Tom, Mark's best friend. He stood there, his easy smile lighting up the room in a way that felt almost magnetic. We exchanged pleasantries, his warmth contrasting sharply with the chill I'd felt all evening. "Jessica. It's been too long," he said, his eyes sparkling with genuine delight. "Too long indeed," I replied, forcing a smile while internally grappling with the sudden flutter in my chest. Tom had always been charismatic, a quality that drew people to him effortlessly. We chatted about art pieces and local happenings as if no time had passed since our last encounter at some family barbecue or another gathering where we all shared laughter over drinks. But as we spoke, I noticed something shifting between us, an undercurrent of familiarity that felt both comforting and unsettling at once. "Have you seen this one?" Tom gestured toward a painting of a sunset over the Blue Ridge Mountains. "It reminds me of those hikes we used to take." I nodded slowly, recalling those carefree days when life felt uncomplicated. A part of me missed those moments, when Mark would join us on hikes filled with laughter and stories under the canopy of trees. Our conversation drifted into silence as we stood side by side before the painting. In that quiet moment, I caught myself stealing glances at him. His profile framed against vibrant hues seemed almost poetic. Then our eyes met again. His gaze lingered just a heartbeat longer than necessary. A spark ignited between us, a flash of something unspoken but palpable. My heart raced as I quickly looked away, feeling heat creep up my neck. This was Tom, the man who had shared countless memories with us over years of friendship, yet here we were caught in an unexpected moment that threatened to unravel everything I thought I knew about loyalty and friendship. "Well," he said finally, breaking the tension with an easy laugh as if nothing had happened at all. "I should let you enjoy your evening." As he turned to leave, an unexpected wave of disappointment washed over me, a feeling so foreign yet enticingly thrilling. "Wait," I called out before thinking better of it. He paused and looked back at me with curiosity in his eyes. "I mean, would you like to grab coffee sometime? Just to catch up?" The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Tom's expression shifted slightly, surprise mingled with intrigue, as he nodded slowly. "Sure. That sounds great." We exchanged numbers quickly before he slipped away into the crowd like smoke dissipating into air. My heart raced not just from what had transpired but from what it might mean for both our lives moving forward. As I left the gallery later that evening, walking through downtown Asheville's bustling streets filled with eclectic shops and street musicians playing soulful melodies under twinkling lights, an unsettling mix of excitement and dread settled into my stomach. What was happening? Why did this feel so significant? I returned home later than usual. Darkness enveloped our house like a shroud as I opened the door quietly so as not to disturb Mark's routine slumber on the couch. Another night spent watching television alone while I ventured out seeking solace elsewhere. The flickering light from the TV illuminated his features softly. He appeared peaceful yet distant, a stark reminder of how disconnected we had become over time. As I tiptoed past him towards our bedroom, guilt gnawed at me for even considering reaching out to Tom again after tonight's encounter. A man who knew all too well what it meant to be part of our lives together yet was now standing on this precarious ledge between friendship and something more dangerous. My phone buzzed unexpectedly against the cool surface of our kitchen counter, an incoming message from Tom. "Great seeing you tonight. Let's chat soon." A thrill shot through me despite every rational thought warning against pursuing this path filled with uncertainty and potential heartbreaks ahead. But then again, hadn't I already been walking down this road for some time now? The late-night text from Mark flashed on my phone, illuminating the darkened room. My heart raced, caught between excitement and guilt. I hesitated, staring at the screen, contemplating the line I was crossing. "Hey, thinking about you," it read simply. A part of me wanted to respond immediately, to dive headfirst into this world where I felt seen and desired. Yet another part warned me of the consequences lurking just beyond the thrill. I tossed my phone onto the bed and paced around our small bedroom. Shadows danced on the walls as I replayed our encounters in my mind, the art walks, shared laughter, and lingering glances. Each moment felt like a vibrant brushstroke on a canvas that had long been blank in my marriage. But was this really worth it? What about Tom? He deserved better than a wife who sought comfort in another man's attention. The next day, I found myself wandering through downtown Asheville, the vibrant colors of murals and street performances pulling me into their embrace. The city buzzed with life, artists displayed their works while musicians strummed heartfelt tunes. Yet amidst this lively backdrop, I felt an unsettling emptiness gnawing at me. I stepped into a local coffee shop to gather my thoughts over a warm cup of brew. The familiar aroma wrapped around me like a comforting blanket. As I sat alone at a corner table, my mind drifted back to Mark's text. Curiosity gnawed at me. What did he mean by thinking about you? Was he reflecting on our moments together or something deeper? The door swung open, and there stood Mark, his presence instantly igniting an electric charge in the air. He spotted me and approached with that easy confidence that always managed to disarm me. "Hey," he said casually as he slid into the seat opposite mine. "Hi," I replied, trying to mask the fluttering in my chest. We exchanged small talk about art shows and local events while sipping our drinks. Each shared laugh drew us closer. Every playful tease felt like an invitation to cross boundaries we both knew were there but chose to ignore. As we walked through the streets afterward, our casual banter morphed into something more charged. He brushed against my arm as we admired a mural depicting swirling colors, an abstract representation of chaos and beauty intertwined. "Isn't it amazing?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "It is," I agreed, caught up in his energy. Then he turned toward me with an intensity that took my breath away. "You know, I've been thinking about you a lot lately." My heart thudded against my ribcage. Words escaped me for a moment as I searched his gaze for any hint of insincerity but found none. Before I could process what was happening, he leaned closer. Our lips met softly at first before deepening into something more urgent that sent shockwaves through me. The kiss ignited every hidden desire I had buried beneath layers of marital obligations and societal expectations. I pulled back abruptly, breathless and wide-eyed. "What are we doing?" "Just exploring," he replied with a smirk that suggested mischief rather than regret. A rush of conflicting emotions engulfed me, elation mingled with guilt as reality crashed back down around us like heavy waves against jagged rocks. What had just happened? Had we crossed an irrevocable line? "I can't do this," I whispered urgently, shaking my head as if trying to dispel the intoxicating moment we'd just shared. Mark's expression shifted from playful to serious. "But why not? You deserve happiness too." His words hung heavily in the air between us, a reminder of everything lacking in my life at home with Tom. But could pursuing this path lead anywhere good? Or was it simply an escape from facing uncomfortable truths? That night as I lay awake in bed beside Tom, his steady breathing contrasting sharply with my racing thoughts, I couldn't shake off what had transpired with Mark earlier that day. Guilt washed over me like cold water. It felt wrong yet exhilarating all at once. In the following days, our meetings became more frequent under the guise of art explorations or casual coffee catch-ups, all laced with flirtation that blurred moral boundaries further each time we met. But beneath that excitement lay an undercurrent of dread. Secrets have a way of festering until they explode into chaos. One afternoon at Biltmore Estate Gardens, a serene escape filled with fragrant blooms, I found myself lost in thought while walking alongside Mark amidst lush landscapes painted by nature itself. "Do you ever think about what could be?" he asked suddenly as we paused beneath a sprawling oak tree draped in sunlight filtering through leaves above us. "What do you mean?" My voice came out softer than intended, as if afraid to disturb this fragile moment between us. "You know, us." His gaze bore into mine earnestly. I hesitated before responding. Uncertainty clouded everything now more than ever since our kiss had shifted dynamics entirely between us both emotionally and physically too. "I don't know if this is right," I confessed quietly after several moments passed filled only by rustling leaves overhead punctuated by distant laughter from families enjoying their day out nearby. Mark moved closer again but stopped short when he noticed how tense my shoulders had become under his scrutiny. Something shifted within him too then, a flicker of understanding mingled with frustration perhaps? "I just want you to be happy," he said finally after what felt like eternity stretched out between us filled only by unspoken words left hanging uncomfortably heavy in silence around us both now instead. Days turned into weeks where each encounter left deeper impressions etched upon my soul while simultaneously complicating everything back home further still. The weight pressing down harder every time Tom would ask how things were going or suggest plans for family gatherings coming up soon. Then one evening while sitting across from Tom during dinner, a meal we often shared half-heartedly these days, I noticed him watching me closely as if trying to decipher hidden meanings behind every word spoken aloud between bites consumed together. "Jess," his voice broke through my thoughts suddenly causing me to look up sharply meeting his gaze directly for once instead avoiding it altogether previously since diving deeper down rabbit holes elsewhere lately. "Yeah?" He hesitated before continuing cautiously, "Is everything okay? You seem distant lately." Panic surged within me. It wasn't supposed to be like this. How could I possibly explain without revealing everything? The truth would unravel all that remained intact so far, the fabric binding our lives together slowly fraying apart now. "I'm fine," was all I managed finally forcing out despite knowing full well how unconvincing it sounded even as those words left my lips hovering awkwardly between us both now instead. He frowned slightly but didn't press further thankfully. Relief washed over briefly before dread returned tenfold knowing full well soon enough secrets wouldn't remain buried forever. Not when they threatened tearing apart everything built over years spent together side by side navigating life's ups downs along pathways traveled hand in hand until recently. That night after Tom fell asleep beside me again, I stared up at ceiling wondering how long until reality crashed down upon us all leaving nothing but wreckage behind once truth emerged unscathed from shadows lurking patiently waiting ready strike when least expected most. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying the events of the previous day in my mind. My heart raced as I recalled our secret rendezvous, how we had slipped away from reality for just a moment. As soon as our lips met, it felt like a rush of relief and excitement, an escape from the monotony that had become my life. But now, with Tom sleeping beside me, that thrill turned bitter. I turned to look at him. His face was peaceful, unaware of the storm brewing within me. The guilt hung heavy in my chest, a constant reminder of my choices. I wanted to shake it off, to pretend everything was fine, but the truth was gnawing at me like a persistent itch I couldn't scratch. "Jess?" Tom mumbled sleepily, his eyes barely opening. Yeah? I replied softly. Are we still on for dinner with Mom tomorrow? He asked, stretching and yawning. Of course, I said quickly, suppressing a wave of anxiety that threatened to spill over. The thought of facing my mother-in-law while hiding such a significant part of my life felt suffocating. As Tom got up to start his day, I slipped out of bed and padded quietly into the kitchen. The aroma of coffee brewing filled the air. It was comforting yet served as a reminder of how mundane our mornings had become. I poured myself a cup and stared out the window at our quaint neighborhood in Asheville. The vibrant colors of fall were beginning to show in the trees lining our street. I picked up my phone absent-mindedly and glanced at it. No new messages from him yet, it was still early. A part of me longed for that familiar buzz indicating he was thinking about me too. But what would I say? Good morning. Can't wait to see you later? Each time I considered messaging him, guilt washed over me like cold water, chilling and unwelcome. Just then, the doorbell rang sharply through the silence. My heart skipped as I wondered who it could be at this hour. As I opened the door, an old friend from college stood there, Megan, her face bright with surprise. Jessica. Wow. It's been ages, she exclaimed, pulling me into an enthusiastic hug. Hey. What are you doing here? I asked, trying to mask my surprise with enthusiasm. I was in town visiting family and thought I'd drop by, she said with an easy smile that reminded me of simpler times before life got complicated. We settled down in the living room with mugs of coffee between us as she shared stories about her kids and work life back home. But beneath her cheerful chatter, something nagged at me, a sense that she might sense something off about me. So how's married life treating you? She asked casually but with an intensity that made my stomach churn. It's good, I replied hesitantly. Busy. She raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Instead, she began talking about her recent trip to Europe while my mind wandered back to him. The thrill we shared during those stolen moments felt like a distant dream amid Megan's laughter. As she left later that morning after promising to keep in touch more often, her parting words echoed in my mind, "You know where to find me if you ever want to talk." I forced myself not to think too much about it. After all, friends were supposed to be supportive pillars in each other's lives, but what could I tell her? The truth? That I had been unfaithful? No way could I risk losing everything by sharing such secrets even with someone who had once known me so well. Later that afternoon while preparing lunch for Tom and myself, a simple salad, I felt my phone vibrate against the counter. My heart raced again when I saw his name flash across the screen, Ryan, the best friend who had turned into something more complicated than friendship over these past weeks. Hey Jess, he texted simply but invitingly. A flutter erupted in my stomach as excitement coursed through me despite knowing how wrong this all was. Hey. What are you doing later? I'll be free after 3, came his prompt reply followed by an emoji that made heat rise up my cheeks despite myself. I found myself typing quickly before second-guessing, "Let's meet at the Orange Peel." Perfect. Can't wait, he responded almost instantly. A mix of exhilaration and dread washed over me as soon as I hit send. Each encounter felt increasingly reckless yet intoxicatingly alive, an escape from reality where no one expected anything from us beyond fleeting moments together. That evening at dinner with Tom's family felt painfully normal as we discussed mundane topics. His work projects mingled with chatter about upcoming holidays, and yet inside me churned a storm threatening to break free at any moment. Tom laughed easily among his family while every laugh echoed hollowly within me. Their warmth contrasted sharply against my growing isolation fueled by secrets kept hidden behind polite smiles and laughter masking inner turmoil. When we finally returned home late that night after enduring small talk around dessert tables filled with pies and holiday cheer, exhaustion settled deep within me like lead weights dragging down every hopeful thought for tomorrow. A tomorrow where everything could change again after seeing Ryan later on. I lay awake next to Tom, who had already drifted off peacefully into slumber once more while guilt clawed its way back into focus. How long could this charade last? How much longer until everything unraveled? My phone buzzed again, breaking through thoughts swirling chaotically around inside. It was Ryan checking if we were still on for our meeting tomorrow afternoon, a question laden with unspoken implications hanging heavily between us both. Definitely, I typed back quickly before closing my eyes tight against impending dread creeping closer. Tomorrow would bring another chance, or perhaps another disaster waiting just around the corner. The morning light seeped through the blinds, casting stripes across the room. I lay there, tangled in the sheets, replaying the events of last night in my mind. We spent the night together, and it felt like a whirlwind, a mix of exhilaration and guilt that churned in my stomach. I had crossed a line, yet part of me was drawn to the thrill of it all. The phone buzzed on the nightstand, jolting me from my thoughts. My heart raced as I reached for it, half expecting a message from him. It was just a notification about an art exhibit opening soon. I sighed and tossed the phone aside. The mundane reminders of life outside the secret seemed to mock me. I slipped out of bed and pulled on an old sweater that smelled faintly of my husband's cologne. The familiar scent brought a wave of nostalgia, but it also deepened my sense of conflict. What was I doing? The life I had built felt like a fragile facade, and every interaction with him chipped away at its integrity. As I moved through the house, preparing coffee in our cozy kitchen, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. My husband had been distant lately, consumed by work and his own distractions. Yet now, as I stood waiting for the coffee to brew, I sensed an undercurrent in our home, a tension that seemed to hang in the air like thick fog. After pouring myself a cup, I settled into my favorite chair by the window. The vibrant colors of downtown Asheville painted a lively scene outside, people bustling about their day while street performers added music to the atmosphere. But inside me swirled confusion and fear. Just then, my phone buzzed again, this time it was him. "Can we meet today?" The simplicity of his words sent a shiver down my spine. Every time he reached out like this, it felt like stepping closer to a cliff's edge, thrilling yet terrifying. I typed back quickly, yes. There was no hesitation, desire eclipsed reason once again. As I got ready for our meeting at the Orange Peel later that afternoon, each piece of clothing felt like armor against reality, something to shield me from judgment or questions that might arise if anyone saw us together. My heart raced with anticipation as I applied lipstick and glanced at myself in the mirror. A stranger stared back at me. When we met at the Orange Peel, he looked different somehow, more alive than ever before. We exchanged small talk about music and art. Laughter came easily between us but lingered with an edge of something deeper, something unspoken yet palpable. "Do you ever think about what we're doing?" he asked suddenly, his eyes searching mine with intensity. "Sometimes," I admitted softly. "But it feels good not to think about it." He nodded slowly but didn't respond further. Instead, he took my hand gently across the table as if sealing an unspoken pact between us. Later that evening, as we strolled through downtown Asheville under twinkling lights strung above us like stars, everything felt surreal. The world around us faded into insignificance compared to this moment we shared. But beneath that enchantment lay uncertainty. What would happen when reality intruded? "Let's go somewhere quiet," he suggested after we passed by an art gallery displaying local artists' works. His tone hinted at adventure mixed with urgency. Before long we found ourselves in a secluded corner behind one of those galleries where shadows danced playfully against brick walls illuminated by dim streetlights above us. "I shouldn't be here," I murmured as he leaned closer. His lips brushed against mine softly before pulling away just enough for our eyes to meet again, an electric connection sparking between us once more. "What do you want?" he whispered almost breathlessly. There was vulnerability woven into his question that left me momentarily speechless. "I don't know," came my reply after what felt like ages spent searching for clarity within myself amidst all this chaos surrounding us both. The moment hung heavy with possibility until suddenly reality crashed down upon us. My phone rang insistently from my bag nearby, breaking through our intimacy like thunder after lightning strikes, a reminder that life awaited beyond these stolen moments together. I fumbled for my phone while he stepped back slightly. Glancing at the screen sent chills racing through me. It was him, my husband, calling unexpectedly during this precarious moment filled with secrets shared only between lovers caught up in their own web of desire and deception. "Answer it," he urged quietly, though his expression shifted into something more serious than playful flirtation moments ago had suggested. An acknowledgement that perhaps even he understood how fragile this all truly was, now hanging by threads woven from lies told over time spent apart, instead spent together perhaps too freely without consideration for consequences looming ahead just out of sight beyond these fleeting encounters shared amongst ourselves alone under covered darkness, hiding truths hidden too long, waiting patiently until they could no longer remain buried deep inside hearts yearning desperately for connection lost elsewhere. With trembling fingers shaking slightly against smooth glass surface beneath them, I hesitated before pressing accept button, finally letting breath escape, lips slowly feeling weight pressing down upon chest, tightening around, heart beating furiously within. "Hello?" My voice came out steadier than expected despite turmoil raging inside me, threatening to spill over any second now. "Jess," came his voice on other end, calm yet firm enough, sending shivers coursing through veins, instantly igniting instinctual fear rising up within. "Where are you? Where are you?" My heart raced as I tried to keep my voice steady. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken accusations. "I'm just out for a drive," I replied, forcing a casual tone. "Needed some fresh air." The lie slipped out easily, but my mind was racing with images of the last few days, those stolen moments that had begun to feel like a second life. "Are you coming home soon?" His tone shifted slightly, a hint of something deeper lurking behind the surface. I could hear the faint sound of traffic in the background, his world moving on while mine felt increasingly chaotic. "Yeah, I'll be home in a bit," I said, glancing at the clock on the dashboard. It was later than I intended. "Just wanted to clear my head." "Okay," he replied, his voice softer now. "Just don't take too long." The line went dead, leaving me with an unsettling silence. The weight of his words pressed down on me. They were both an invitation and a warning. I took a deep breath and glanced at my phone. No new messages from Jake, which was oddly comforting and concerning at the same time. Driving through Asheville's vibrant streets, I passed by familiar spots, the coffee shop where I used to spend lazy afternoons and the art center where it all began. Each corner held memories that felt like fragments of another life. My heart sank as I thought about how far removed I had become from who I used to be. The affair had started innocently enough. An accidental brush against Jake's arm during an art walk had ignited something dormant within me, a spark that quickly turned into flames during our secret meetings. But now those flames flickered uncertainly in the face of growing guilt and fear of discovery. I parked outside my favorite cafe, hoping a cup of coffee might ground me amid this turmoil. As I stepped inside, the warmth enveloped me like an old friend. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with baked goods wafting from behind the counter brought back memories of simpler times, before secrets complicated everything. While waiting for my drink, I caught sight of a group of friends at a nearby table whispering and glancing in my direction. A chill ran down my spine as whispers floated through the air, rumors swirling about me and Jake began to take root in my mind like weeds choking out sunlight. "Did you hear about Jessica? She's been spending time with Mark." I turned away quickly, pretending to focus on scrolling through my phone while fighting off rising panic. The thought that people were talking about us made my stomach churn. What if they knew? What if someone told Tom? My coffee arrived just as my thoughts spiraled further into chaos. Holding the warm cup tightly between my hands offered little comfort against the cold reality creeping closer each day. As I took a sip, bitterness filled my mouth, not just from the drink but from regret gnawing at me relentlessly. I decided to check in with Jake later that evening after returning home, something to ease this gnawing anxiety festering inside me since Tom's call earlier. But before that could happen, another twist awaited me. As dusk settled over Asheville and shadows lengthened across streets lined with quaint shops and galleries, I received an unexpected notification, a photo tagged by one of Tom's friends on social media. A candid shot taken during our recent outing at Biltmore Estate Gardens where Jake had joined us under the guise of being just another friend. In it, we appeared close, laughter frozen in time captured by someone unaware of our hidden truth. The intimacy evident in our expressions sent waves of dread crashing over me once more. How could this happen? Panic surged as I opened the image fully. It was innocent enough but could easily be misconstrued by those looking for drama or scandal, especially considering Tom's ever-watchful eye lately on both me and Jake. I knew what this meant. Whispers would turn into conversations behind closed doors, speculation turning into accusations before anyone even approached me directly about it. My phone buzzed again, a message from Jake, "Can we meet tonight?" The urgency in his words pulled at something deep within me, a mix of longing and apprehension battling for dominance in this moment fraught with uncertainty. I hesitated before typing back, "Is everything okay?" His reply came swiftly, "We need to talk." The weight behind those words felt like lead pressing down on my chest as dread washed over me again like cold water thrown unexpectedly onto skin warmed by sunlight moments before. With each passing minute ticking away toward our meeting time later that night, anxiety twisted tighter around my thoughts. I couldn't shake off visions of Tom confronting us or worse yet finding out through others what we'd kept hidden for so long. As darkness enveloped Asheville outside my window now dimly lit by streetlights flickering softly against night's embrace, uncertainty loomed large over everything around me. The looming confrontation ahead filled every corner with shadows cast by choices made without foresight or care for consequences yet unseen. And then there it was, a knock at the door jolted me from spiraling thoughts clouding clarity just moments ago, heart racing again as fear gripped tight once more. I opened it slowly only to find Tom standing there looking more serious than ever before. "Jess," he started slowly but firmly, eyes searching mine deeply as if trying to read something hidden beneath layers built up over years spent together. "We need to talk." A sinking feeling settled deep within as realization hit hard. I knew what he meant. Confrontation loomed closer now than ever before, and somehow amidst all chaos surrounding decisions made recklessly without considering ramifications, it felt impossible to escape unscathed. The weight of his gaze anchored me in place, the air thick with unspoken words. My heart raced, a mix of fear and anticipation swirling within me. I had been living in a haze, but now clarity pierced through the fog. "Jess," he continued, voice steady yet tinged with an urgency that made my skin prickle. "I've seen the way you've been acting lately." Each word felt like a stone dropped into still water, sending ripples of anxiety through my veins. "What do you mean?" My voice came out softer than intended, almost pleading. The dinner table between us felt like a chasm, widening with every shared moment of silence. His expression hardened slightly. "You're distant. You don't talk to me like you used to." And then there's Tim. The name hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. I swallowed hard, guilt coiling tightly in my stomach. "I'm just busy," I offered weakly, knowing it was a pitiful excuse. My husband's best friend had become more than just an innocent distraction. He was a lifeline I clung to amid the stormy seas of my marriage. "Busy? Or hiding?" His eyes bore into mine, searching for truth hidden beneath layers of deception. I wanted to look away but found myself entranced by the intensity of his stare. "I'm not hiding anything," I insisted, though even as the words left my lips, I felt their hollowness echoing back at me. "Then why do I feel like you're slipping away?" His voice softened momentarily, revealing vulnerability beneath his frustration. It struck me then, he was hurting too. In this tangled web we had woven together over years, we had both lost our way. I just need some space, I finally confessed, though it felt like admitting defeat. Space? He repeated incredulously. Or is it freedom? To do what exactly? The accusation stung more than I anticipated. He wasn't wrong to question my choices. I just want to feel alive again, I whispered before realizing how much those words revealed about my state of mind, my longing for attention and connection that had gone unfulfilled for so long. He sighed heavily and leaned back in his chair as if he were trying to create distance between us physically as well as emotionally. And what about us? What do we have left? That question echoed painfully in my mind as memories flooded back, laughter shared over coffee at our favorite cafe and quiet moments spent watching sunsets on our porch. Those days felt distant now, like photographs fading in an old album. Maybe we can find it again, I suggested tentatively, though doubt crept into my thoughts alongside hope. Maybe. He sounded unconvinced but willing to try nonetheless, a flicker of determination igniting within him despite everything else hanging over us like dark clouds pregnant with rain. As dinner progressed uneasily, each bite tasted bittersweet, food became fuel rather than nourishment for our souls. Conversations shifted from laughter to strained discussions about bills and schedules, mundane topics that seemed trivial against the backdrop of our unraveling relationship. But then came the message, a simple notification on my phone that vibrated against the table's surface, an invitation from him for another clandestine meeting later that week at the Orange Peel after hours when no one would be around to see us together again. I hesitated before glancing at my husband across from me, his brow furrowed with worry as if sensing something was off-kilter within me, a secret gnawing at the edges of our fragile peace. He noticed when I checked my phone again moments later. Irritation flickered across his features like lightning illuminating dark skies before retreating into obscurity once more. "What's going on?" he asked sharply, suspicion lacing his tone now more than ever before as if he could sense betrayal lurking just beneath the surface of our conversation. "It's nothing," I lied reflexively while feeling guilt wash over me anew, the weight heavier than ever before as reality settled around us once more like an unwelcome shroud draped across our lives. "Don't lie to me." His voice rose slightly, a warning note embedded within it that sent shivers down my spine. "You owe me honesty after everything." "I'm trying." Frustration bubbled up inside me unexpectedly, emotions threatened to spill over into chaos once more unless contained swiftly within reasoned boundaries set by love long ago forgotten amidst distractions found elsewhere instead. We fell silent then, the air thickening with tension palpable enough to slice through with a knife as thoughts raced wildly through both our minds. Regrets mingling with hopes dashed against rocks along treacherous shores where nothing remained constant anymore except uncertainty itself looming large ahead. As dinner came to an end, plates cleared away leaving remnants lingering behind. I couldn't shake off unease gnawing at edges of what remained between us while simultaneously yearning for something outside this reality where shadows danced ever closer threatening engulfment whole if not careful. Finally rising from our chairs, each step echoing loudly against tiled floors, I caught sight of him watching intently while struggling against feelings swirling deep inside himself too. And then he spoke again softly yet firmly, "I need you here with me fully or not at all." His ultimatum hung heavily between us like an invisible barrier built from years spent together juxtaposed against fleeting moments shared elsewhere now threatening everything we once built together. I nodded slowly feeling tears threaten behind closed eyelids wishing fervently they wouldn't spill forth uncontrollably revealing truths better kept hidden beneath layers built up carefully over time spent navigating life's complexities together until now. But silence reigned supreme instead, a fragile peace settling upon us both even as uncertainty loomed larger than life itself waiting patiently beyond reach ready to sweep everything away should one misstep occur along this precarious path laid out ahead. With hearts heavy yet hopeful, We parted ways, temporarily unsure where this new chapter would lead next, but knowing one thing remained certain: choices made would forever alter fates intertwined tightly despite all odds stacked against them. The air was thick with tension as I stood at the threshold of my own life, feeling the weight of decisions pressing down on me. My husband's words echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the fragile fabric holding our marriage together. He had laid bare his heart, revealing vulnerabilities I never knew he possessed. It felt disorienting to see him so raw, yet it also ignited a flicker of empathy within me. "Jessica," he had said, his voice trembling slightly. "I've noticed you drifting away. I'm scared of losing you." The sincerity in his gaze pierced through the veil of my guilt. I wanted to respond, to reassure him that my heart wasn't entirely lost, but how could I when I was entangled in a web of betrayal? Later that evening, I found myself sitting alone in our living room, the soft glow from the lamp casting long shadows across the walls. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the ticking clock, a reminder that time was slipping away from us both. My phone buzzed beside me, pulling me from my thoughts. It was a message from Mark. "Are we okay?" The simplicity of it struck me hard. Did he truly believe we could navigate this storm unscathed? My fingers hovered over the screen, contemplating my response. Instead of replying immediately, I put the phone down and leaned back into the couch cushions, staring blankly at the ceiling. Mark had been a source of light during my darkest moments, his laughter filling voids that had grown too heavy for me to bear alone. But now that light felt like an impending storm cloud looming over everything I held dear. I thought about our last encounter, the way we kissed beneath the soft glow of streetlights after an art show. It had felt so right then, yet now it twisted into something darker as guilt clawed at my insides like a wild animal desperate to escape its cage. Just then, footsteps echoed through the hallway. It was David returning home after another long day at work. He entered quietly but paused upon seeing me in deep thought. "Hey," he ventured cautiously, concern etched across his features. "You okay?" I forced a smile and nodded even though I felt anything but fine. "Just tired." He sat next to me on the couch and took my hand gently in his own, a gesture that once brought comfort now felt like a shackle binding me to a life I no longer recognized. "I've been thinking," he began hesitantly, his brow furrowed as if searching for words that might bridge our widening chasm. "About what?" "About us." His eyes searched mine for understanding, as if hoping I would provide clarity where there was none. "I don't know what to say," I admitted softly. David sighed heavily and ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "This distance, it's killing me." A lump formed in my throat as his pain resonated with my own conflicted feelings. The truth hung between us like an uninvited guest, both obvious and suffocating. "I know," I whispered finally, feeling tears prick at my eyes despite my efforts to remain composed. He squeezed my hand tighter and continued speaking about therapy sessions he'd considered or how we could reconnect through shared activities, anything to salvage what remained of our marriage. But all I could think about was Mark and how every moment spent with him felt like stealing time from David's heart without remorse or hesitation. As David spoke on about rebuilding trust and intimacy, another message chimed on my phone, this time from Mark again. "Can we meet tomorrow? We need to talk." My heart raced at those words, dread mingled with excitement as they settled deep within me like stones dropped into still water, ripples spreading outward until they threatened to drown everything else around them. "I have to go out tomorrow," I blurted out suddenly without thinking, an instinctive reaction fueled by panic rather than honesty. David paused mid-sentence and looked at me quizzically. "Where?" "Just errands." He narrowed his eyes slightly but didn't press further, instead returning to discussing potential weekend plans, an attempt at normalcy amid chaos swirling just beneath our surface. As night fell around us enveloping our home in darkness outside while illuminating nothing but shadows inside, I lay awake replaying conversations in my head, trying desperately to find some semblance of clarity amidst confusion surrounding both men who held pieces of my heart hostage without even realizing it. Morning arrived too quickly, filled with gray skies mirroring turmoil brewing within me. I dressed mechanically, preparing for whatever awaited ahead while thoughts raced wildly through each crevice in my mind. Who would be waiting for me? What would happen when truths collided? Arriving at our usual coffee shop, a cozy haven amidst downtown Asheville, I spotted Mark seated at a table tucked away in a corner booth, shrouded by half-drawn curtains filtering sunlight into soft rays, illuminating dust motes dancing freely above us both like secrets longing to escape confinement. His expression mirrored mine, an equal mix of anticipation and dread swirling behind those familiar eyes filled with warmth yet shadowed by uncertainty regarding where this meeting might lead us next. "Hey," he greeted softly as I slid into the seat opposite him, feeling suddenly exposed under scrutiny despite walls surrounding us both shielding against prying ears outside this sanctuary built upon stolen moments shared between two souls seeking solace away from reality's harsh glare. "Hi," came out barely above whisper, the weight behind it heavy laden with unspoken fears lingering just below surface, threatening eruption should either one dare venture too close towards forbidden territory once more. Mark leaned forward, resting elbows against table palms pressed together, nervously fidgeting while searching for words escaping lips meant only for ears willing enough listen closely without judgment, clouding perceptions formed through fleeting encounters shared between lovers. Caught between loyalty owed versus desire ignited anew. "I need you to be honest with me," he finally said, breaking silence hanging thick around us like fog refusing lift, no matter how desperately sun tried shine through clouds overhead, casting shadows upon everything left unsaid, lingering just outside reach, waiting patiently for release. "I can't keep doing this if you're not sure where your heart lies anymore." His vulnerability struck deep within. A reflection mirrored back, revealing depths hidden beneath layers built up over years spent navigating complexities woven tightly into lives intertwined despite obstacles thrown their way, threatening unravel threads holding everything together, tightly bound until now. What could I say? The truth hovered just beyond reach, tauntingly elusive, teasing promises made once upon time lost somewhere amidst chaos unfolding before us both, threatening consume whatever remained intact, still lingering within fragile confines, keeping hope alive against all odds, stacked high against them. "I don't know what you want from me," slipped out before thought fully formed, leaving emptiness echoing loudly between breaths exchanged, neither one wanting break, spell cast over moment shared, yet knowing consequences awaited should either dare venture too close towards unknown territory lying ahead, waiting, patiently ready swallow whole whatever remained left unspoken. Just then realization hit hard, crashing down around us both, leaving little room breathe, let alone hope survive intact when faced head-on against reality looming large, threatening swallow whole whatever remnants existed, still tethered, tightly bound together despite odds, stacked high against them. "What do we do now?" I asked, feeling breath hitch painfully caught somewhere between desire wanting cling tightly onto something, slipping away faster than grasp could hold on to, leaving nothing behind except memories fading fast under weight, choices made leading down paths unforeseen until now, waiting patiently ready consume whatever remained intact, still tethered, tightly bound together despite odds stacked high against them. The weight of the choices I had made pressed heavily on my chest as I sat at the edge of the bed, the motel room dimly lit by a flickering lamp. The air felt thick with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. My heart raced, caught in a chaotic rhythm echoing the turmoil inside me. I glanced at him, my husband's best friend, the man who had become both a source of comfort and a catalyst for my discontent. "What do we do now?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He looked at me, his expression a mix of regret and uncertainty. "I don't know, Jess. This isn't what I wanted." The truth hung between us like a fragile thread, ready to snap at any moment. I had sought solace in his company, but now it felt like a cage closing in around me. The thrill of our secret had dulled. What once felt exhilarating now tasted bitter. I stood up and walked to the window, pulling back the curtain slightly to peer outside. The streets of Asheville buzzed with life, people moving in and out of shops, laughter echoing through the air, but here in this room, everything felt stagnant. My heart sank as I thought about my husband waiting at home, oblivious to the chaos that had unfolded over these past few weeks. "Jessica," he said softly, breaking into my thoughts. "We can't keep doing this." His words struck me like a physical blow. Deep down, I knew he was right. Yet part of me clung desperately to the idea that there was still some semblance of happiness to be found in this mess we created together. "I need to figure things out," I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. "This isn't just about us anymore." He nodded slowly, understanding etched across his features. "What do you mean?" "I mean, there's more at stake here than just our feelings." My thoughts drifted back to my husband, the man who had stood by me through thick and thin despite my growing distance from him. The silence stretched between us until it became unbearable. The reality of our situation loomed large. We were tangled in a web spun from lies and deceit. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he said finally. "Neither do I." The truth stung as it left my lips. I turned away from him, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. How did it come to this? How did I let myself slip so far into this affair? With every passing moment in this room filled with shadows and secrets, clarity began to seep through, the realization that running away from my problems wouldn't solve anything. It would only deepen the wounds already inflicted. A sudden noise outside jolted me back into reality, a car door slamming shut followed by hurried footsteps approaching our door. My heart raced again as panic surged through me like an electric shock. "Jess," he said urgently, "what if?" Before he could finish his thought, there was a loud knock on the door that reverberated through my bones. "Open up." It was unmistakably my husband's voice. My stomach dropped as dread pooled within me. He must have sensed something was off. Perhaps he'd followed me all along or had grown suspicious after our last encounter when tensions flared between us during dinner. "Quick! Hide!" I hissed as fear propelled me into action. He darted into the bathroom while I hastily composed myself before opening the door just enough for my husband's face to come into view, a storm brewing behind his eyes. "What are you doing here?" I asked, feigning innocence while internally screaming for time to slow down. His gaze bore into mine with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. "I came looking for you." "I told you I needed some space," I replied too quickly, guilt twisted like a knife in my gut. "Space? Or is it someone else?" His voice dripped with accusation that cut deeper than any knife could manage. "Don't say that." Anger flared within me as denial fought against shame rising up like bile in my throat. "You think I don't know?" His voice lowered dangerously close to a whisper now, threatening yet vulnerable all at once, each word laced with hurt that echoed our shared history together. Before another word could escape either of us, he pushed past me into the room, his eyes scanning every corner until they landed on the closed bathroom door where silence reigned supreme except for muffled breaths from within its confines. "Who's in there?" His tone shifted from anger to something colder, a chilling realization dawning upon him as if pieces began falling into place before his very eyes. "No one." Desperation clawed at me as panic set in deeper. How could everything unravel so swiftly? He stepped closer to confront whatever lay behind that door. My heart thudded painfully against my ribcage as time seemed suspended between us like an unyielding thread ready to snap at any moment. And then came another knock, this time louder and more insistent, as if fate itself demanded resolution amidst chaos unfurling before us all too suddenly. In one swift motion fueled by instinct rather than thought, I lunged forward, pressing against him, desperately trying hold back whatever storm threatened break loose while knowing full well consequences awaited just beyond those four walls. But then everything shattered when he turned towards me with disbelief etched across his features. I saw recognition dawning upon him just before realization struck like lightning illuminating dark skies above. And suddenly nothing remained untouched by truth seeping through cracks between us, threatening consume whatever fragments still tethered tightly bound together despite odds stacked high against them. As moments stretched painfully thin, I stood frozen, caught somewhere between two worlds, unable grasp hold onto either one without losing everything left behind.